Diane Roberts here, my retirement vlog, another episode in the retirement vlog. I'm here to show you my baby quilt today. But before I do that, let's say the date. It's October 15th, 2018. Believe it or not, it's already the middle of October. In 2 weeks, I will have been retired for 1 whole year. And I only feel like I'm just starting to get my act together. It takes a long time, this transition into retirement, especially when you weren't really planning it. I wasn't planning on it for another year, so, well, anyway, I digress. It's the middle of October, and I got my flu shot today. I went out this morning to my doctor's office and asked if they were going to be having a clinic, because not that there's anything wrong with getting it at CVS or Walgreens, but I don't know, thought I'd get it at the doctor's office. And they said, oh, we'll make you an appointment right now. So they took me right away. They were making appointments. So I got my flu shot. And I'm always paranoid about getting flu shots, but I did it. It's done. I had it done in this arm instead of this arm. I usually have it in the left. But lately I've been doing a lot of cell phone stuff. Too much. Too much cell phone stuff. Like for relaxing and stuff. So anyway, this arm's a little sore. So I said, why don't I do it in the other arm, because you always get sore from a flu shot. That way I'll be able to gauge which is worse and if this one's getting better or what I'm doing to this arm. Sometimes I think it's from picking up my grandson, because I've been seeing him again lately, and when I put him in the car, I lift him up. He can't climb in as easily into my car as he can to his mom's car. But anyway, another story there. So I got the flu shot. That's over and done with. So whether or not they're effective, who knows? They don't hurt me. I never had an extremely bad reaction to one, and I've gotten flu shots for all the years I worked in healthcare, which is since 1990. So that's why I get it. Might as well. Better be safe than sorry, I suppose. Or if the last few years they haven't been effective, but I haven't gotten the flu either, so always remember, keep washing your hands, and I don't know, try to stay out of huge crowds where everybody's coughing and sneezing, or sit in the back so you can escape, like at church. Okay, so I'm here to talk to you about my quilt today. I got all my quilt blocks put together. I prepared the backing for my quilt, put the batting in between. I put it on the long arm yesterday, and I started quilting the border and thought I would just straight stitch over the seams, more or less do a quilt stitch in the ditch to keep the blocks secured, because when you quilt a quilt you should do it every so many inches in order to keep the batting in place for washing. Well, as it turned out, it was so many layers of, because there's already a layer of batting on these squares, on these blocks, as well as a couple of layers of fabric, because I quilted in the hoop, remember, and the corners overlap. So you can get a real buildup of fabric. I tried to trim them all down so it wouldn't be so much bulk, but some of them are still pretty heavy. So what I've decided to do, when I upgraded my embroidery machine, I'm going to put this on close up now so that you can see what I'm talking about. Let's see. Here's an overview of the quilt, sort of. Beginning of it's over here. I'll show you a full picture when it's finished. Let's get zoom in here. Let's see. Right there, I put on an attachment that I believe is a walking foot. It may not be a walking foot, because what Brother calls it, this is a Brother machine. Brother calls it the dual feed foot, but it's like a walking foot, because what you have, let me put this up, what you have is, you're not going to see this because I should have showed you this before I put it on the machine. You have a black rubber roller that's on top of the fabric, as well as your feed dogs beneath, and as the fabric goes through, there's an even feed happening, a dual feed happening. They're feeding the top and the bottom, because when it's heavy and thick it makes it easier to go through. So you see my various pins here, just little tiny, I guess they're quilting pins because they do have this bend in them. I don't even close them, I just stick them on there. What I'm doing is just quilting along the borders of each block with a little bit of a serpentine stitch that I have on this machine. The lucky thing for me is my embroidery machine is a brother and my sewing machine is a brother. This is a sewing embroidery, oh no, this is just a sewing machine. This doesn't quilt. My other one is considered quilting and embroidery because it has the extended arm that I can attach. So anyway, when I upgraded that machine so that I could take bigger hoops, it included this dual feed foot because some of them just attach onto the shank of the machine, but this one, I don't know if you can see the back here, there's a cord that plugs in, so it's kind of like electrified along with the machine. So I have it set up to do a serpentine stitch along this, all these blocks, and that's what I'm going to do first. After I get all the blocks secured down, I'm going to put it back on the long arm, I think, and do the borders, do some kind of, I was going to do like a loopy, I did do the top, a loopy quilting on the top, and then when it got down to the quilt blocks, it wasn't happening. Last night, it was pretty late, it was like 10 o'clock, I said, oh no, now what? So this is plan B, option 2. Okay, so here we go. I'll just show you how this works real quickly. I won't make you watch the whole thing. So you get your presser foot down, you've got the dual feed foot down, and you just sew as you normally would. I already have this. I don't know if you can see it's doing a serpentine stitch. I'm not really doing much with the fabric, I'm just trying to guide it along. Did that pop up? Okay. Don't know if that's visible to the camera, but there's an orange serpentine stitch there. So that's what I'm going to do for these borders. The borders of the quilt blocks. Okay, so now I have to turn. I've got my needle down, put the presser foot up. I'll turn the whole thing. That's when these big sewing cabinets come in handy. We'll turn it and we'll just continue. This is kind of fun because you're getting a nice even serpentine stitch on all the block borders. I just hope it's going to look right. Oops. Press the foot down. That's the nice thing about these machines. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, it lets you know. And here we go. I'm just trying to keep it centered to the center of the block border. Oh, I think I just moved the camera. Let me check that out. I'm not sure if I did. Let's see. The quilt hit the leg. I don't know if you're able to see very well. Let's see if I do this. If that's better. Keep my hands out of the way. I'm trying to stay out of the way of the camera. Got a pin there. Well, so that's that. That's what I'm doing now. I'll show you when I'm done. Show you the results when it's completely quilted. Hello, back again. I got all the quilting done. It was a 2-step process. I did the stitch in the ditch type quilting with my dual feed foot, and then I took it off the domestic machine, put it on my long arm, and on the long arm I did, I don't know if you can see, this quilting here for all the border. I did this type. Let me turn sideways. See if you can see that. It's just like a zigzag serpentine line there. And I brought it through one side, then the other side, and on some of them, if they were wider, because they should all be the same, but some of them I just went over serpentine here up the middle. Oh, did you notice my finger? I got that's right through my fingernail. I got the machine needle through my finger last week while I was embroidering. I wasn't paying attention. I guess I was brushing away something and I stuck my finger right under the needle when it was embroidering so quickly. Yikes, did that hurt. But this is it now. You can see I still have to, I'm going to square it up again, yet again, because I have the quilt sandwich here. I'm going to square it up, cut it, and make the binding. Now, I think it's really cute. I'm really happy with the way it came out. The binding, I'm thinking I'm going to take all these scraps, the scraps from my jelly roll, all the pieces I cut off that I used for all these borders, and I'm going to make the binding out of it. I've started trimming them up. They're over here. I think, and they're all different lengths. They'll be all different lengths, all different patterns, and I think going along the binding, I think it'll look cute and it'll make the backside look good, because otherwise I was going to use that same orangish color for the binding, and then the back's pretty boring. This way the back will have some color to it. So once it's completely bound, I will take the one last shot. Okay. Okay, now we're making progress. I've finished quilting the quilt. I've put it on the long arm and done the borders. I used my domestic to do these borders. Then I did this one on the long arm because it was easier. And then I took all the scraps from these borders, because remember I told you I used a jelly roll, K-facet jelly roll of all these bright colors, but I didn't use a full 42-inch length. I repeated a lot of the designs just so that I'd have some uniformity or consistency throughout the story of the quilt. But then I took all the scraps, here they are, and as you can see, I have pieced them together. They're 2.5-inch strips. I pieced them all together. I pressed the joinings open, folded in half, and then I'm applying the binding. The way I like to apply binding is I sew it on the right side of the quilt. You can see my 1/4 inch seam. That looks a 1/4 inch. So what you do is I'm stitching it to the front, and I like to hand stitch the back. So I'm machine stitching it to the front. I leave a good long tail here for when it's time to join it when I come around. I stitch a 1/4 inch down to the end of the quilt. I want mitered corners. So what you do is you stitch down till you're a 1/4 inch away on this length. Then when you go to the width, you pick up your binding and you fold it into is that 45? Yeah. Boy, can you tell I've been out of school for a while and out of work. 45-degree angle here, and then you begin your stitching again along. This is the width of the quilt. And actually, I think I'm coming, yes, right now I'm coming to the end of this, coming to the end here. Please focus. There it is. I'm coming to the end. I'm going to stitch down to the 1/4 inch. Then I'm going to, let's see if I can do this. Then you bring this up. Well, I'll do it down here. Pretend this is the corner. You bring this up and you fold a 45-degree, only you're doing it right here. And then you begin, it'll be more like this. And then you begin your stitching again. So that's where we're at. We're getting towards the end. I'll show you this when all the binding is attached. Okay, now I've finished attaching all the binding, and now it's time to turn it over and pin it, or I'm going to say clip it, because I use these Wonder Clips. I'll show you how I do this, and I want to show you how those mitered corners work when you do that 45-degree angle that I was talking about. When you turn it over, you're going to create a mitered corner. Let's see if I can get up close. Maybe that's a little too close. Alright, see if I can show you this. So what I like to do is, I like to sew mine. I like to take the binding, I'm probably in the wrong place, take the binding, put it back here, Let's see if I can see if I'm showing you. Alright, I like to turn the binding over to the wrong side, and then I just use these binding clips, these little wonder clips. You can get them on Amazon if you get the small size, which is what I use, because I always make a 2.5 inch binding. I use 2.5 inches to start with. It doesn't turn out to be a 2.5 inch. Turns out to be more like, what? Turns out to be a 1/2 inch? 1 inch, 1/2 inch on each side. Okay, so what I do is just, I've done the quarter of an inch, stitch it on, turn it to the back, and then I use the little, oh yeah, I'm not showing you, okay. Turn it to the back, and then use these little clips to hold it in place. Okay, let's see. And then I prepare all the quilt like this, and then when I'm going to watch a movie, I like to hand sew it on. I just hand sew it on with invisible stitches so you can't see where I've stitched it, and it's on the back side. If you're real confident, you can just stitch it right along the edge, or you can stitch it on the front side, right in the ditch, and if you push it right, you will catch it, and you'll have straight stitching on the back. But I don't do that. But now I would like to show you the mitered corner. So remember I told you this is a tiny quilt, but it's hard to manage at times. Let's see if we can get this right where we need it to be, so you can get a good look at what I'm trying to explain. Let's see if I put it right here. I'm not a cameraman. I wish I had a cameraman. That would be great, right? Alright, so let's get that corner right there. And if I can keep my hands out of the way, you ought to be able to see what I'm doing. I'm not going to move this. It must stay right here. Okay, so what we did was we stitched down to here. We stopped at 1/4 inch. We turned our quilt, and we made a 45-degree angle. Here it is, a 45-degree angle, just making this fold straight with where you just stitched. I'm going to unclip this a bit so you can see. And then you turn your quilt and you stitch along here, which leaves you with this 45-degree angle, which would be your mitered corner. So all you have to do is nothing, because it does it for you. When you bring this side over, oops, I better stay here. When you bring this side over and clip it, and then bring the other side over and clip it, you're going to see, let's see if I can see if that's in the camera view. That's what I should have done. I should turn this over so I can see. Is that in the camera view? Yes. I think you will be able to see my 45, the very nicely mitered corner, just by putting that 45-degree fold in there. The back looks like this. There's the corner right there. There's the back. So all you do is just make it into the other. I'll put it down here on the white. Might be easier to see. Just fold it, and it makes it. It automatically goes in place. I'm gonna put it in place, and I'm gonna clip it so that you can see it up close in the camera view. There it is. So there's the back right there. See how it just folded in? It's just folded. And here's the front. It just folds in so nicely. No muss or fuss. And now you have, and if you just clip it all around, then you just hand sew it. Pretty cool, huh? It's the easiest way to do it, I think. So here it is. All finished, all bound. Give you a better look at it. Seemed like a long journey to me because I wasn't doing it all in one day or even in 1 week, but I was chipping away at it little by little in between having appointments and babysitting and shopping and cooking and cleaning, etc. But all these little fairy tales came out so cool. And it's so non-traditional because this is Snow White. Well, just it's a little squirrel in the mirror on the wall. So and I used just, you know, very inexpensive muslin type fabric for the designs, and it's all done. And of course the Cape facet the Cape facet borders, there's a different border on every side of each square. So that's why, I don't know if you'll be able to see, when here's my border. Well, you can see it on the wrong side too. I stitched a lot of pieces together, all different lengths, all different designs, whatever. I just pulled randomly whatever was next. And that's how it turned out. I like it a lot. I think I'm gonna do the final, I'm gonna bind it later on today, and then I'll do a final picture to put at the end of the video so you can see how it turned out. I like it. I'd make another one if I knew another baby was coming. So have fun with your embroidery and keep enjoying that retirement. Hello, here's my quilt. Just about finished. It's blowing in the wind. I put it on the clothesline to see if we'd be able to see it better. Get an overall look at it. I can't get this far away from it in the house because I don't have that much space. So you can see it's half hand stitched. The top third, I've done the binding. I've sewn the binding on. The bottom, almost half. I'm a little further along one side than the other. Still has the clips in it. But that's what the quilt looks like. See if I can show you. And there's the back. Oh, you can only see the shadow of the clothesline. Forget that. Okay. But the binding has come out very nice. And it came together quite nicely. I like the colors. It's nice and bright. So that's the Quilt in the Hoop embroidered baby quilt. Again, the software is Anita Good, and the name of it is Fairy Tales. Okay, any questions, just leave them in the comments. Bye now.